I'm going to place a shape on the paper which will indicate the size of the head and shoulders and the bodily gesture. I do this with shoulder movements and wrist movements. I use the size of my hand as the size of the face normally. This is going to be done very quickly. I'll just try to see the overall movement of the head and shoulders and the neckline. If you look quickly, sometimes you can be more accurate than if you studied over it for a long time. Now I'm starting to draw in, step 2, draw in the shadows. Now I do this first lightly with a fine charcoal. It's easily erased, comes off completely, and if a feature is really out of place, it only takes a second to take it off and put it in the right place. The purposes of the gestural outline are to establish an impression of a unity between the large masses, the hair, the clothing, the face, and the background, to set the size of the head, to find a comfortable position on the paper, and to establish the bodily gesture to see it. Bodily gesture is very important to the likeness. Giving myself an indication with the fine charcoal in here, I'm beginning to draw a bit. I'm using a LaFrance pastel here. It's a dark red. The shadows of the head of the shadow plane of the portrait is an intricate pattern created by the planes of the head and the features. We draw the shadows with only one color, even though there are obviously many subtle colors in the shadows. For our color perception to grow, we must be able to observe the color of the entire light plane and the color of the entire shadow plane together. The light plane is anything struck by the light, including the halftone, and the shadow plane is that area shaded from the light, including the reflected lights. These are called the big masses of color. Don't surrender to the impulse to draw the features too soon. Here I'm laying in the shadows. I'm not drawing the outline of the features. A linear depiction of the features at this point would be too difficult to do to get the type of accuracy that we'll be able to get by being patient and laying a foundation of three-dimensional color within which to visualize the features later. Now I'm into step 3. These first steps go very quickly. This is laying in the light plane, filling in the light plane, and I'm using pink, light pink, and I'm just filling in these spaces that I didn't paint with the shadow color. Now I mix an orange with the pink. I'm trying to achieve a mixture of the two colors together. I'm not trying to totally cover the pink. Experience will show you which colors to use for the light plane, which colors in your box you can use for the light plane, which colors in the box you can use for the shadow plane. Truly, experience is the only teacher for that, because everyone has their own idea of what colors to use, and this will allow you not to be copying someone else, but to arrive at your own mixtures of colors.
Now notice I'm changing the shadow plane consistently throughout. I know her eye will be green later and her lips will be redder later, but for the time being I'm after the big relationship between the shadow and the light plane of the entire head.
And I'm using light blue. Cover the entire light plane with the light blue. And I'm really not covering, I'm mixing the light blue with the pink and orange that I've already put in. And I've adjusted the color of my shadows. You can see that I have used a Rembrandt red violet number 4 over the LaFrance dark red that I put in first. So this adjusting the colors, while it's simple, while you have just the shadows, while you have just the light plane, this adjusting of the colors or adding colors to it, mixing the colors, just as you would oils. In oils you have to mix the colors on a palette and then apply the mixture to Well, you don't have to, but that's the way most people do it. You mix a color on the palette with oils and apply it as a mixture, whereas in pastel, we have to learn to mix colors on the painting itself, and that's what I'm doing. I'm mixing a mixed pink with an orange, and now I'm covering with a light blue. And it takes finesse to do this because you're trying to arrive at a mixture of colors, not trying to cover completely, not trying to obliterate the color, but make a new color. If the color of the light plane is too light, it'll look chalky, pasty. If the color you choose for the light plane is too dark, then there will not be a clear division between the light and the shadow. This is important for later because you have to put a halftone between the light and the shadow, so you have to have a clear division between the light and shadow. Squint your eyes at the model, and then squint your eyes at your drawing. If the division between the light and shadow on the model and the drawing are similar through squinted eyes, then it is accurate enough for our purposes. Adjust the entire color of the shadow and the entire color of the light plane until you get a balance for chroma, the hue of the color that you're after, and for the value. And now I'm going back to the original color that I started with, the pink. I'm covering the blue. Not covering again, but mixing. And now I'm back to the orange that I originally mixed into the pink. I'm still working with just the big masses of color, the light plane and the shadow plane. I feel like I need to deepen the value of the shadow plane here, and I picked up a dark piece of chalk, and I'm increasing the contrast. Now this is a homemade piece of chalk. It's a pastel. It's a dark violet that I mixed. And as I keep mixing new colors into my large color masses, I'm able to fine-tune that shape a little. I'm mixing a LaFranc olive green into the shadow color now. This mixing colors can go on indefinitely. You can, as you get the colors finer, you get a better three-dimensional image on the paper. You're able to see what the color lacks. I can see what the shadow color lacks. I can see what the light plane color lacks, but I'm still keeping essentially one color for the entire light plane, one color for the shadow plane. At this point is crucial because I have to continually make a comparison in order to improve my color sense, my color perception of what I see. And now I have a warm burnt sienna color that I'm mixing into the shadow to warm that shadow color up a little bit. And my purpose in mixing colors is what I see. It's not a theory that I've come up with about warm colors versus cool colors or anything else. I'm looking for the color, looking for the relationship between the shadow and the light plane. And that's what gives me a new color to use. I look for what the color lacks, and that's the color I pick up.
Now it's time to think in terms of the halftone.